Get excited because it is time for the largest contest in Sharpside history with our Pro Football Handicapping Challenge presented by Vegas Insider. We will have $10,000 up for grabs this season, both in weekly prizes, mid-season prizes, and then a $5,000 grand prize winner. So here's how you get in. First, you gotta download the Sharpside app. We have it available for free for both iOS and Android. Once you get registered, then you go into the app and you start swiping your favorite totals and spreads in NFL games. We'll have weekly and season-long leaderboards right in the Sharpside app so you can see how you stack up versus the competition. Remember, the most units won each week will win the weekly prize, and the most units won over the course of the entire season will win that $5,000 grand prize and be the best handicapper for this NFL season on the Sharpside app. So check it out, free to play. It's the Pro Football Handicapping Challenge presented by Vegas Insider, all on the Sharpside app.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Premium Lineup Builder here. First week of the NFL. We're going to do some FanDuel lineup building for you here. Got my boy Big T waiting in the wings. We haven't done this for a while, so we're going to catch a groove here. And Big T, we just bring on Big T. So the last time we did a showdown show, and I don't even know what it was. Maybe it was, NBA Finals. We were whipping these things out. We were doing it. But since then, boy, you went on a damn heater, didn't you?
Yeah, it's been a good few months for Big T. I'm glad to have a little extra cheese going into football.
A little extra cheese going, and you're going to need it for this these slates of games here kicking off on Thursday. We just kind of opened. I knew prize pools were going to be big and all that, but when we were looking at it before the show, the exact amount going out there, we're going to do FanDuel first. $1 million to first place here on a Thursday single game show. That's absurd. I mean, could you have imagined maybe 5 years ago thinking about where we were in DFS and thinking, and then they kind of just sprung these one game things on us, and we didn't know if they were going to stick or how that was doing. If it was just a big money grab, and now all of a sudden you got $1 million going out to somebody on Thursday night.
It's just it's so awesome too. I mean, obviously we did these shows all last year, football, basketball. So we like these one gamers more than most people do. Especially for football more than anything, who doesn't love to watch football on Thursday nights, Monday nights, Sunday nights, the one game by itself? I mean, the first game of the year, $1 million the first. I mean, what is there not to love about this? This is great stuff.
All the nerds and the football haters will tell you they don't like the island games because football is a boring product. Yeah, man, trust me, I'd rather sit down and watch a football game on an island rather than just about any other sport.
I'm a basketball guy, and I'd rather watch football unless it's literally Game 7 in the NBA Finals and stuff like that. But just as far as a sample, who wouldn't want to watch a football game on an island? Nerds.
Yeah, just the nerds. All right, well, we're good with that. I got a question for you though. Let's talk about just a little bit of strategy first, because we're on FanDuel. We're going to do this. FanDuel's doing it up big time for you guys in week 1, so we're going to devote a whole show to them right now. I got to ask you on a strategy tip. We're kind of briefly touched on it pre-show, but I was saving it for this. So they're going to give away $250,000 in this contest, and it's going to be split between all the teams that roster the guy who scores the first touchdown, either rushing or receiving. So does that change the way you draft? If you're drafting 20 teams or one team, or does that change anything for you? Are you more likely now to maybe take a shot on some weird guy who may just sneak into the end zone first, and you can split that 250 between very few people as opposed to rostering 60% Aaron Jones, and maybe you're splitting that a whole bunch of ways where it almost doesn't even matter? Does that change your strategy at all, that little bonus they're giving us?
So it's interesting just because, I mean, obviously most weeks when we do these shows, I'm going to play like 20 teams or whatever the number is. But for these huge prize pools, I'm for sure going to put 150 teams both sites. I mean, it's $9 and whatever it is on DK we'll get to next. But $9 on FanDuel, million to first, 250K bonus. So it gets a little more interesting when you get to 150 teams because on FanDuel, like we said last year, you don't pay extra salary for the MVP. So everyone's going to play them, or a majority of the people will play the same guys in those spots, which changes your dynamic because you're trying to win the million ultimately. But sure, the 250K, if you can somehow find some random guys to put in there, which we like to do anyways. I mean, last year we play all kinds of weird dudes in our lineups just because we want to be different. We want to have a chance to win the million by ourselves. And by doing that, I think we kind of get a chance to hit the 250K too, just because we're not going to play a dead chalky team in these things. We want to win a million, especially these formats. Later in the year where the formats may be a little different, who knows? But on this slate, million to first, 250K bonus, like I think it sets up well for how we build teams.
Yeah. So with that being said, we're on FanDuel. You got to have an MVP. You got to have 4 flexes. Those are the other guys surrounding your MVP there. So just briefly on the game itself, we always like to say you pick a game script and you roll with it. And if you're building 150 teams, you can pick a game script pertaining to 20 of your teams and then pick another game script, and then you can do it like that. But ultimately, you do have to have a game script, I think, in your head. So in your head right now, looking at this little 3-point spread at Chicago, it's a 46.5 total right now. What do you think the game script? How do you think this game ultimately plays out?
Early in the season, we always forget this because we get so excited about football, but none of these starters play in the preseason anymore. So these first couple weeks, we're going to have some ugly football, which we don't want to hear because we're happy football's back. But I remember last year still, we went like all defenses and kickers and stuff week 1, and we almost won the million last year by doing it because people want a bunch of points. I tend to think that it's going to be a lot more defense oriented. A guy like David Montgomery, Aaron Jones even, kind of the running game a little bit because I'm pretty sure there's no defenses on FanDuel. I like the running backs, I think. Rodgers is going to be so popular, which is fine. I mean, he's clearly probably the best floor play on the site. Trubisky, obviously, with the running game. But I kind of like David Montgomery, and the running game is my preferred options on the slate. What about you?
I think we're on the same page thinking about the defenses here. I think everybody thinks Chicago's going to be a top-notch defense this year. But I think Green Bay is going to sneak up on some people. Yeah. I think they're going to be a better defense. So, and the thing about it is, you said that we haven't seen this stuff in the preseason. We really don't know what Green Bay is all about. They got a new head coach. I mean, the days of McCarthy are over with, so we really don't know how this is going to play out. So it's going to be interesting like that. And with that being said, I think we just start building now. I'm with you. I think it's more of a defensive battle. In fact, I think there's a lot of value in the kickers here, man. I think we get a lot of, you get down in the red zone, you get bogged down, you can take a kicker, and maybe your kicker ends up with 3 field goals this game. That's going to outscore 3 field goals. An extra point is going to outscore the vast majority of these wide receivers in this game that people are going to play. So I think there's value there. But the MVP spot, FanDuel, we don't get penalized for it. So we got to, whoever we're going to put 5 guys on a roster here. Whoever the best guy is the guy who's got to end up in the MVP spot because that's just, you don't get the penalization. So who's our MVP here? Who are you looking at? So, talk to me about the MVP spot here.
Yeah, I mean, on FanDuel, it's a lot easier, I think, just because it's tough to go too crazy when you don't have to pay the salary adjustment. There's just no reason to, I don't think, especially not in this game. I mean, you got both quarterbacks obviously should be high. You could play Devontae Adams if you wanted. But like I said, I kind of like David Montgomery. Like, if the Bears D is what we think it is, I think they should hold up pretty solid against Green Bay, which a lot of the MVPs are going to be used on Rodgers, Adams, Aaron Jones. And if we think the Bears D can hold up, I'd like to go the Bears direction, I think. And I don't know. I don't love Trubisky. I mean, I like him fine. I'm fine with playing him, but Montgomery he looked so good in all the build up to the season, which could mean nothing, but he looks like a stud to me. And I think he should be relatively low owned in the MVP spot. So I like him. I mean, I'm fine with that, but what do you think?
Yeah, I don't mind Montgomery taking a shot on him, and I'm not, looking back at some of the recent games between these two teams, and the Aaron Rodgers doesn't really stand out, and Trubisky really doesn't stand out. So I think we can get away with playing a little David Montgomery in that MVP spot. I actually don't mind it, and like I said, we're going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to plug him in there. I like that pick, and then that gives us a little flexibility here. We're going to figure out what we can do with our other 4 spots here. So the quarterbacks, we didn't play them in the MVP spot. So does that mean, can we fade them? Can we just flat out fade the quarterbacks here? Like I said, I'm looking at the game logs from the previous meetings. They just don't look that good. Like, this is going to be we think it's going to be a tough defensive matchup. Maybe we can just be different by fading both quarterbacks and hoping that neither one of them gets over 15 or 16 or 17 points, and then we can eat them up somewhere else.
So this is where FanDuel, it's a little bit different. It's just so hard to where the salaries just let you play them so easy that, I mean, if we were to play Montgomery and both quarterbacks, like, we have so much salary left where we could play. We always say it. You said it to start out. We said it all last year. These 2 kickers, if it's a defensive game, I mean, if they make a 50-yarder, I think it's 5 points last year. I'm sure it's still the same. Like, you get a 50-yarder and another field goal, like, you're up to almost 10 points with a couple field goals, extra points. I don't know. Like, I like the kickers, and there's other options down there that should be low owned. So I don't know. Like, I think I'm good with, like, playing the quarterbacks and getting different somewhere else. Like, there's so many different guys to where I think that we can go a lot of different directions at the bottom.
All right, let's do 2 bills in. Let's do one where we play quarterbacks, and let's do one where we try to get a little bit different. So let's play the quarterbacks. I think looking at the salaries, you're right that the fact that we're going to be able to save some money if we're going to get a little bit different. So
I don't even hate just for the one build, like, just as like a stationary build, like to have Montgomery, both quarterbacks and both kickers on the same team. Like, seriously, that's
definitely not bad. It's definitely not a bad play to think about.
I mean, it's not going to win it solo. Like, other people will definitely have that, but I like that as a team, as just a base team to start with.
Yeah. So I like that. So, we're looking at the kickers down here. You can fit both the kickers on here. That's what you want. I mean, hey, that's a roster I like, man. But
that's a good cash build too. Like that. Although with cash, I'd probably just put Rodgers or Trubisky in the MVP, and then put Montgomery somewhere else. But two quarterbacks and 2 kickers is almost a lock for cash. Just a solid cash base. You got a nice little floor with that.
Yeah, I agree. So we got these high-priced guys in here. We're gonna go with some of these salary savers here and talk about them for a minute, because our next build is going to be more middle of the road if we're not going to play quarterbacks, just to see how we can be different. So we won't have to dip down in the salary. So let's talk about some guys maybe we could play with this build and save some money on down here in these last 2 spots. I'm specifically looking at Trey Burton maybe being out. He's questionable, highly questionable right now. So our boy Simon was telling us he's getting a chub right now because he knows I'm about to talk about Adam Shahan. Adam Shahan down here at 5K, man. 5K. He could possibly be the starting tight end in this game. And as we got pointed out to us before the show, the tight end for Chicago gets about 8 targets a game versus Green Bay here last year. So maybe that's something Shahan can get. That's going to, if we did that 5K, man, you could do anything else with your roster you wanted to if you roster that 5K guy. What if he's the guy who scored his first receiving touchdown, and then also you're splitting 250K with about 3 other people, man? We could be in good shape.
Yeah. The problem I'm pretty sure with that, the 250K bonus, just because in the NBA they did this too with the weird thing, or somewhere I seen it. I think it has to be in the MVP slot is the only thing.
Oh.
So that it gives you like incentive to people are going to burn lineups though, like putting guys like Shahan in the MVP just so that if he scores that touch, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Have you seen that?
I didn't look closely. I just saw the $250K MVP bonus. Maybe it is just the MVP spot. We'll get some clarification on that, but
yeah, I just looked. It's just the MVP. So like a lot of people were like going crazy because it was the last 3-pointer. That's what it was in the NBA. The last 3-pointer of the game. So people were rostering all these bench guys just blowing teams to try to. So like there's going to be some random teams which helps the prize pool anyways. And naturally like probably hopefully our boy Montgomery just runs it in and we get our share of the $250K anyways. That's another reason to take Montgomery actually. Like that gives him a decent edge in that MVP I think, which we already liked anyways. But yeah, as far as Shahan anyways though, yeah, if the other dude's out, Shahan obviously has to be in play at 5K. I think he'll be really, really popular, which I don't love just because, I mean, this dude, he sucks. I mean, he can't be any good. So I'm fine with it. He's 5K. I think he'll be super popular if he's the starter. Like, he'll be the trendy guy everyone wants to take once they try to find some value to fit in Rodgers and Adams and guys like that. So I'm good with it, though. Great value, as always. Helps us build our team. No issue, but we got to keep Simon in line. We can't have him full Chubb first show.
Can't have, so we're going to take him out. But it just he's a 5K guy, and if I would almost prefer that Burden isn't inactive, and then you can roster him at lower ownership, and then Burden is just hurt and just doesn't do very much. And this guy,
I like that too. That's a good call. We talked about that in the NBA. I love that actually. And if he gets 0 at 5K, it's not the end of the world depending on what your other four do.
I've been looking at some showdowns here recently where guys are winning college football this weekend, winning it with zeros. It can work if you nut the rest of your team, you can be all right. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. I think our optimal build here that we have with this one right here is grab the 2 kickers because that's the kind of way we go. But if we're not grabbing the 2 kickers, how do we round out this thing? We got 2 quarterbacks and our top running back, $9,500 per player left. Can I interest you in Allen Robinson, Geronimo Allison, something like that? What's the best way to round this out if we're not playing the 2 kickers here, which we both think are actually the way you go here?
Yeah, so I just like filtering all these lower guys is how I like to build it. Geronimo, you can even play 1 kicker. Like I would just cycle all these guys, starting with Geronimo. If you played the 5K tight end Shahan, you can filter more people. But just as far as this range, Geronimo, you got Crosby, obviously, Anthony Miller, Pinero, the other kicker, Gabriel, even Mike Davis. Like Mike Davis with our boy Montgomery. Sounds crazy. I hear you say this all the time. I believe in it too, especially these showdowns. I think you can play running backs together. I really do, because all it takes is Mike Davis. Say Montgomery has a great first half and gets hurt somehow. We're not banking on that, but Mike Davis gets a bunch of work. Mike Davis should get carries anyways, at least some. I don't hate it just as far as a tournament play. It's not a cash play. Jimmy Graham too, actually. He's questionable. I think he'll play though.
Yeah, you never know when a guy might sneak in that touchdown, man, inside the 5-yard. How many times have you
Cordell Patterson for $6K too? Like I'm sure he's returning kicks and stuff too.
How many times though have you seen your running back you got break off a nice little 30-yard run down inside the 5, and then he's winded and he taps out, and the next guy comes in and you're like, no, stay in there and get your carry. Next guy comes in and he steals that touchdown from you. That could be Mike Davis. And the thing about this is, and we don't do this on every slate is different, but for these single games like this, the key is if we're thinking it's a defensive battle, 1 touchdown from a guy like Mike Davis could be the thing that swings it $1 million literally. There's such a fine line there.
Mike Davis could win us some. You remember last year when we did these leading up to the first game? Like it was literally 1 touchdown that ended up winning that thing, and we were in good shape the whole game.
Yeah, so I like that call. What I'm gonna plug in here is the 2 kickers because I think we both agree that something like this is a cash game build. Except you decide Rodgers or Trubisky up into the MVP spot, probably a little bit safer than Montgomery, but this is the cash game build I'm rolling with. Now let's just do one for competing against these 300 other teams here. Let's figure out a way to be a little different. I think we can be a little different by fading the quarterbacks and just going middle of the road with.
What if we build a script with just like we fade the Packers side, like the Bears just dominate on D? Because how many times have we seen that where a team just can't block, defense takes over? Like the Bears just dominate this football game, and it's 24-3 Bears.
Yeah, we've said it, man. The way you win these things is to pick a game script.
What do you think Rodgers going to be on? Like 90%?
Oh, he's just – it's a quarterback, and his name's Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, we're looking at probably upwards of 90%. That's definitely the way people want to go. So
like 40 or 50 in the captain probably, right? Or in the MVP.
Yeah, and if we think about what does he need to really, make us pay for not rostering him, like he has to score a lot anyway. And I don't think he does. This is a tough defense. He didn't put it on him last year all that much. They're even better this year. We don't know what he's going to do with that offense. Hey, the offense, man, that's another thing we haven't really talked about. New head coach. This thing could come out and be like a slowed down version, like a Tennessee, because the coaches of former Tennessee offense, we could see a lot of slowing down, and maybe Rodgers doesn't get loose as much, but this is just a tough matchup anyway. So let's fade those guys. If we're fading the quarterbacks, David Montgomery, if we're thinking there's going to be a defensive battle in favor of Chicago, Montgomery's got to be our guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, if we're fading the quarterbacks, we almost have to play both running backs. I mean, Montgomery and Jones, and could even play another one like Cohen or something. I mean, it's tough to fade both quarterbacks, but if you're going to do it, you got to get all the game script that we think could pick up those points. So load up these running backs.
How about this one? Like you said, Chicago domination. All right. So we're thinking Chicago domination. Montgomery, big lead. He's in our MVP spot because he's going to grind out the second half yards. And that's going to make Green Bay have to force to throw the ball a lot. Maybe we slide Devontae into a flex and he's the only one who gets the Green Bay touchdown, something like that. They pass and they're trying to catch up, and Adams is the only one doing anything for Green Bay. And then we've neutralized Rodgers because he throws for 2 touchdowns, but we got them both from Devontae. How about that?
I love that too. You get that late, maybe we get that late touchdown too that gets us over the top. I don't think there'll be many teams too with just Devontae as the only Green Bay guy. Like I like that thought actually.
Yeah. So then we got 3 spots left, 3 flexes left, and we're filling Chicago here. So what was it? Double running back? You say Cohen? Take Cohen?
Yeah, I mean, I think it gives a lot of options to where you kind of lock down the running game. I mean, like I said, doing weird stuff in these things could win you $1 million. We always do. That's what I like about doing these shows. We say some weird things and then we end up doing it, but I don't hate the idea of playing all 3 of the running backs, Montgomery, Cohen, and Davis. And it's a different build, but who knows? You're trying to be different. You get that whole running game locked down. They should all get work too. Like I don't think any of them are just not going to play at all.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that I got to pull it.
It fits too. Like, that fits good. Plug those in there. That might be the winner.
Which one? You want to plug Davis in there?
It leaves us 13-5, which lets us play literally anybody. You can play Trubisky, Jones, Robinson. You can play any other guy by playing those running backs together.
All right, Mike Davis. I got him over here. Let me add Mike Davis. All right. Okay, so then after that, what are we thinking, man?
I mean, just on the surface, like I love this build. So like I said, you can play all of them. I think obviously on this build, I think you just play Trubisky, but I don't think how many people besides the people watching this show, no one will have this build. So we'll be splitting that $1 million with our loyal followers here. But obviously, if you want to be a little different, play a different guy. You can literally play anybody but Rodgers with this build.
Nut play would be Trubisky there, but let's
that whole running game too. Like Trubisky runs. Like if they don't throw any touchdowns, this game could easily be a game where there's not many throwing touchdowns.
Oh, absolutely not. But I also don't. This is a GPP build. Let's not zero out the roster. Let's try something a little bit. How about this, man? How about this? This one would leave money on this one would be, instead of Trubisky, you plug in the kicker.
Yeah.
And you just hope there's no passing touchdowns. That's all there is to it. Montgomery and Davis fall into the end zone.
Love it.
They get bogged down in the red zone. Pinero kicks a lot of, is that the guy who owns the soup and sandwich shop, Pinero? I don't know, but it's like, he kicks a lot of field goals. Devontae on the other end running it back. You leave $5,000 on the table, and I can guarantee you're going to be one of just a few rosters with that particular lineup because you just don't do it. So if you really want to be different, like, I think the key here is you're battling it out for $1 million with 300,000 other teams, right? To split teams, split the money with thousands of other teams. We've seen it before. We've talked about it before. That $1 million could turn into a couple of $1,000s, even a first place tie, if you're being super chalky. That's nice. Don't get me wrong. Who doesn't want to grab a couple grand? But it's not the $1 million. And that's what you're fighting for. So if you leave money on the table, a bunch of it is less likely to be splitting that thing with anybody. And we don't have to be too different here. Like, as far as, we don't have this build right here doesn't have to go too crazy. It just doesn't need a bunch of passing touchdowns from Trubisky. That's all. Like, Aaron Rodgers can get them as long as they go to Devontae, and that's not that far-fetched. We just don't need Trubisky to get off. And imagine a world where the kicker, Pinero, outscores Trubisky. We would be.
Imagine the world where we got like a 53-yarder to win $1 million.
And Trubisky's sitting on one touchdown, and that one touchdown came to Cohen, and we got Cohen. Oh, we'd be golden, man. So that's how you win it, guys. I think that's where we're gonna draw a line right there, man. That's a good GPP. We did the cash. The cash build was just pretty easy for us. I think we both have a game script in mind, and it's a defensive battle. But this GPP thing right here, I like this lineup, man. I think it's different. I think it has a chance because it sticks to our game script, right?
I love it. Yeah. I mean, like always, we kind of work our way in a certain direction and try to win this $1 million. If ever you've gone crazy to try to win $1 million, do it night one. Be a little crazy. These games are not going to go how everyone thinks early in the season. It's going to be ugly football. Could be the other way too, where the defenses struggle a little and the offense goes crazy. But believe me, these games are going to go crazy early in the season, especially, I think what do they usually say? Like weeks 1 to 3 is basically the preseason for the starters. So don't be surprised if there's some ugly football games that don't go as all these experts that have been studying since freaking May think they're going to go. So I like it, man. I think we're in good shape here night one.
Yeah, I think that if you take anything away from this, it's not even the specific players. It's the fact that you got to figure out a game script and roll with it, man. And don't be scared to leave money on the table. If you want to win the $1 million, you got to be different. You just got to be willing to take those chances. So I think that's where, like, by the way, why would you want to get in a $9 contest with 300,000 other people if you're just going to play a cash game lineup? It just doesn't. If you're going
to play a different tournament,
exactly. If you're going to play, I have no knock on that lineup. Just take that lineup and put it in a single entry where there's hundreds of other people, not thousands of other people. So.
Or just play a few. Like, if you were going to put that one in, still put it in. That's fine. Get your share. But then play a few crazy ones, too. Like, have some fun with it.
Go a little bit crazy, man. Game selection is key here for what lineup you put in what game it makes a lot of difference. So, guys.
Is it not fun, Chop, too? What's better than putting a crazy team in there and rooting on Mike Davis to somehow get in there and score you a touchdown? Like, that's fun, isn't it?
That's the best, man. And then, everybody else is tilting it. Like, oh, how could they take out Montgomery and put in Davis, and you've got Davis? That's just money in the bank. But I like it, man. We stick to a game script. That's what we always say. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this FanDuel show. Be on the lookout for the DraftKings show. It'll be back here same time. Just toggle around that new front page we got on RotoGrinders. You'll find it eventually. But guys, until then, good luck in that big GPP on FanDuel. That's Big T. I'm Headchopper, and we're out of here.